What's a company secret you can share now that you don't work there? Story 1. Health insurance dude. When you file a claim, it is often denied because they are counting on you not escalating it. Once you do, your case goes to a medical management group, which ought to be called the "we don't want to pay" group. Keep escalating and involve your doctor. Fight for the insurance you paid for. Story 2. Mortgage industry here. We're like cops. Only answer the question asked, do not provide additional information to be helpful, it could screw you over. Story 3. I worked at Olive Garden in the mid-90s while I was in college. Back then, they had the all-you-can-eat soup, salad and breadsticks lunch special for like $4.25 plus tax. Working lunch shift sucked. You would get probably 2 or 3 tables, and there was a 99% chance that all of your tables were 2 ladies getting this lunch special with water during their lunch break. After about a year, several of our best servers were mysteriously fired. It turns out, they were running a scam where they used the same receipt over and over again when these ladies paid for their meal with cash. Since we could get those 3 items ourselves from the back without ringing them into the system, these servers were just pocketing the cash for the entire meal. So instead of making like $5 to $8 in tips during a lunch shift like the rest of us dumb schmucks, they would make an extra $20 or so by stealing from the company. Story 4. I worked at L'Oreal. The cosmetics from L'Oreal and Lancome are practically the same. But Lancome costs like $20 more. Story 5. I worked for a major hotel chain in housekeeping for over 10 years. The number of suicides and people who die naturally in their rooms is a lot higher than you'd think. I worked at a huge convention hotel with over 1,000 rooms and it happened quite often. Unless it was a pretty gnarly mess, it would just get cleaned like normal and the next guest had no idea. Story 6. Used to work at a graphic design firm. All our Adobe software was pirated. Story 7. The owner was, at first glance, a short-tempered, critical penny pincher who did everything he could to save business money, right down to watching over your shoulder to make sure you didn't put too much cheese on a pizza. Cheese is called white gold in the pizza industry, even back in 2002, but after working for him for a while, you realized why he was so specific about the margins. Twice yearly, he would send out generous bonuses in the form of money orders made out to his employees from his own personal savings account to the college students working for him. The checks and money orders contained the memo line, "Keep learning." The amount of the money orders would be directly correlated to the profit margins of the stores he owned. The dude did legit profit sharing. After I graduated, I heard a rumor that he was trying to start up a small education grant trust that would benefit applicants of the Farmer School of Business at Miami University, but I don't think anything ever came of it. This owner also played favorites when hiring. Every single one of his managers was a former employee. 3 of the 4 managers at his stores when I worked there had graduated from my college with business degrees. All 4 of them had a small portion of their education paid for by Marvin. Story 8. Diet Sprite and Sprite Zero were the exact same thing. They didn't change the recipe one bit. They just changed the name and design. Story 9. I worked at a comic book store that offered a service where you paid a small premium to have sent in rare comics to have them graded at CGC. A few months later, we had many customers coming in to check the status of their comics. We contacted the owner to see what was going on, and he would always claim that there was some distribution problem. Fast forward a few months, we found out he was taking customers' graded copies and selling them online while trying to return back issue versions of their original comics. Story 10. 1 gallon of milk, 1 full bottle of Monin vanilla syrup and 0.6 of a pound of espresso brewed. Now freeze it. Boom. Joe Muggs frozen cappuccino. Story 11. At a local deli grocery store I worked at, everyone raved about how good their mac and cheese is, and it always sold really quick when I worked in the deli. It's even labeled on the menu as store's famous mac and cheese. It's literally just stuffers, we didn't even add anything to it. Story 12. If you pick up a wall phone at Home Depot and push a 7, it activates the store-wide intercom. This works in every store in my province as far as I know. Story 13. I worked in the seafood industry for many years. 2 things immediately come to mind. First, don't ever buy the pre-marinated cuts of fish that are sometimes for sale at the counter. Those are cuts that are about to turn bad, or already have, and the marinade is only there to mask the poor quality and smell. Second, more of just an FYI, but a lot of the fresh lobster meat you see is made up at least partly from dead and dying lobsters. Tanks and crates are checked daily, sometimes more frequently during the summer months, and the lobsters that croaked overnight are cooked and shucked for their meat. If you see a lot of straight tails, steer clear. Story 14. Worked in insurance, hundreds of people have access to your SSN with no security clearance or background check. Story 15. Worked at a American Toyota dealership in the body shop for 12 years. We would throw away literally everything regardless of the environmental impact. Car paint, which is nasty by the way, went straight to the dumpster. Radiator fluid. Down the drain. I even saw someone put oil down the drain a couple times even though we had barrels for it up in the service department. The only thing we saved was old car parts which the boss then sold to scrapyards and pocketed the money. The painter didn't ever wear a mask either. He is around 60 and still kicking despite 30 years of painting without a mask somehow. Story 16. I'll say it. A place similar in name to Past Face Urgent Care, at least in the region I worked at, banned their front desk from informing customers that they have a credit balance to use toward their services and still required us to charge customers the full price on top of what we already owed them. Some accounts had like $500 of copay that should have been refunded but weren't. I was actually reprimanded for applying the credit balance because despite finance agreeing my method was correct, the regional manager said it was not a good look for the company and hindered her profits. Story 17. I still work here, but everyone please get a copy of your medical records from every place you've been to. Keep a hard copy in your home because I have horror stories from working in medical records since 2007.
When one of my doctors retired, I requested my records so I could take them to my new provider. According to said records, I've had a child, breast biopsy, tonsillectomy, thyroidectomy, and I'm 390 years old. I have had exactly none of these things.
Story 18. I worked at a Petco in Alaska. Apparently black mice are not allowed up here. Only white mice. We got a shipment in of a bunch of black or brown mice and had to take them to the vet to be killed. Also, the animals are literally shipped in on a UPS truck and delivered in packages. I would open a package and it would be full of fish or mice or snakes. You never knew what was coming, it was wild. Luckily my shift manager was a really good person. She tried her best to help any sick animal and was super diligent about keeping the cages really clean. She would stay after hours to care for the sick animal in the back and double down on cleaning. When upper management came, they didn't give a shit how clean anything was. They would yell at us to get more customers to sign up for pet rewards. If I didn't pester every single person checking out, they would get angry and give me point deductions. I have no idea what the deductions even did. One of the upper managers watched me for like 3 hours when I was at the register. He said I wasn't pushy enough on getting people to donate, sign up for shiz. Bish, I will ask once and if they say no I am not asking again. That shiz is annoying AF. He also got mad at me when I didn't clean the bird cage fast enough. It took time away from the register. I'm sorry, I don't want our birds to stand in their own shiz for hours, so Yerima take my time to scrub that shiz clean. Also, don't buy fish from Petco. Pretty much every shipment that came in they were all infected with ICK. Basically half our tanks were in quarantine. We had several customers come back saying we killed their entire fish tank because of a fish we sold them. F Petco. Story 19. I used to work for a company that rhymes with Musbeed and we used to have somebody post this question every few months for material for one of our clickbait articles. Story 20. If you go to an event that has event security, ask them for better seats, or be really nice to them, they might bring you something special. I work at a hockey rink, we give nice people pucks, pins and let them go down to the front to see the players. Story 21. Your luggage at an airport isn't really handled with care. Story 22. I used to work surveillance at a casino. From something like 3 stories high ceiling, we could zoom in on money on the table games and read the serial numbers of the bills. We could see the pips on the dice. Policy was to not look down blouses. If you've gotten this far and enjoying the content, please leave a comment of your own story. We'd love to make a video of them in the future. Story 23. I used to work as a receptionist at an upscale salon. While I was there, the salon introduced a new line of products marketed towards men. Up until that point most of our products were marketed towards women, but the execs saw that we were getting more male customers. Every item in the men's product line was about half the cost of our other products. The men's shampoo was the exact same shampoo the salon had been selling for years, but because they put it in black packaging with the word man on it, it was half the price. The owner's explanation was, well, men don't want to pay that much for hair products. For the rest of the time I worked there, every time a woman came up to buy that shampoo, I'd tell her that the men's shampoo was the exact same product for half the price. Story 24. Worked at Best Buy 20 years ago. Employee discount was 5% over cost and I needed a new printer. Decided to splurge on the gold-plated USB printer cable that we sold for $40. Rang up $1.78. Story 25. All new clothing and everything you try on is dirty. I've worked in retail for years and it still shocks people, but there's no washing machine or disinfectant spray or wipes. Nothing. I've opened boxes of new clothes that had white bugs coming out of it. Seen woman after a workout class come and try clothes on, then just leave still sweaty from the class. One older lady left dime-size skin flakes in the clothes she tried on. Not to mention whatever happens when they return the item or what happened in the factory. People are gross, nothing is clean, always wash your clothes when you get them home. Story 26. When I worked at a Godiva store, we would turn expired chocolate bars into sample pieces. Story 27. In the United States, one company's bread and butter was simply reboxing and relabeling computer monitors from China to make it seem like they were from the company and made it assembled in some way by them. Story 28. Maple sap can be trucked in from other states, and where it's turned from sap to syrup decides on the state it comes from, not the location of the trees. Story 29. Your warranty service part that took 8 months actually arrived 3 weeks after they paid the invoice. They didn't even order it for 7 months. They told you it was manufacturing delays and supply chain issues, but in reality they couldn't afford to pay their bills and had to pick and choose which orders to place. You weren't a priority. They were just really bad at budgeting and damage control. Story 30. Hotels do not typically have security, maintenance, or housekeeping on staff 24/7. Once housekeeping finishes cleaning all the rooms, the entire staff leaves except for one front desk employee. Story 31. I'm 90% sure a company I worked for was importing product from China, repacking it and selling it as made in USA, blending it with the product we did make in the US. Story 32. The difference between the high-quality deli meat sold at Marks & Spencer and the regular deli meat sold in other grocery stores is that we changed the label. We would literally stop the production line, wait for the guy who ran the label machine to swap them out and then start it back up again. Story 33. The stain protector is only useful if you actually file a claim. It isn't a magic effing potion. Most furniture companies sell some sort of stain protector as an add-on. People buy it, thinking it has some magic ability to prevent stains over the life of a piece of upholstery, then, 5 years later, spill some Kool-Aid on that shiz and the stain doesn't come out. With most of these protectors, there's a warranty claim process that will get you a new sofa, or a new set, if your sofa pattern isn't made anymore, but nobody ever files a claim. That's the gimmick. The company is counting on you not actually holding them to the deal that they made you, and virtually nobody does. Story 34. I worked at a candy bagging warehouse like the crappy .99 gas station candy, where we would even make trail mix by hand. Tons of sweat would drip into the mix because we would be in a 100 Fahrenheit plus room with little ventilation. Also, my boss was a hunter, so a quarter of the warehouse was dedicated to his taxidermy treasure room. Effing smelt like in the summer, but he was so proud of himself. Story 35. Arby's manager replaced the expiration stickers on the bread with new ones. I guess so the bread would last longer that way. I threw out 100 plus pittas with green fuzz on them after checking the manager's work.
Yep, Subway manager used to do similar. Prepped all the veggies and meats, like way over prepped, and everything went out. Most things last 2 days. Lettuce after a couple of days becomes a slimy sludge. They basically wanted me to replace all the date marking stickers and call it a day. Not only was it horrifically bad, it was time intensive. But I wasn't having it, I discarded all of it, bins of waste. I told the area manager. Nobody did anything, just said be quiet. Then the manager disappeared off the face of the earth, thankfully for our sakes.
Story 36. Inbound call center. Though we are currently experiencing an unusually high call volume, message is permanent. They just didn't staff adequately. Story 37. One of our best restaurant in my town is locally famous and everyone goes there. They say everything is homemade. The thing they are famous for is the hot beef sandwiches with homemade potatoes and gravy and the fish fry. The fish fry they also have during the week listed as an entree called the cod platter. It is instant Cisco brown gravy mix and instant Cisco mashed potatoes. The cod is only fresh and fried on Fridays. If you order it during the week, it is frozen breaded Cisco fish fillets, aka a blend of random fish shaped into a stick. Story 38. Everyone's favorite sauce that people wanted the recipe for was mostly mayonnaise. Sure, it was called creamy pineapple sauce, but it's just pineapple salsa and mayonnaise. Story 39. If you don't hear music when you're supposedly on hold, the operator simply muted their microphone and can still hear you. I've heard interesting and damning things while they thought I couldn't hear them.
I was setting up a new account with the phone company, back in the landline days. I think the operator meant to mute her microphone but didn't. She had to do some stuff in the background while I was supposed to be on hold or something. I could hear her typing, but at the same time she was telling someone in her office about a party she'd been to the previous weekend. It was hilarious, both her story and the situation in general, but I couldn't laugh out loud. I had to stifle myself to hear the end of the story.
Story 40. If you were on live chat with customer care, I could see what you were typing before pressing send. I watched people work through grotesque, racist, sexist statements, fraudulent lies and mistruths, meticulous grammar fixes, and their whole range of emotions in real time before deleting and typing OK. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to Thread Talk for more content like this. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out. Have a dope day and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers!